Apologise for my lateness. I'm going to have to change this, and we'll put it back, and then I can be late for when I put it back. No, I do apologise. There's a lot going on. Late nights and all that.
Signing.
Yeah, loads.
Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our press conference to preview our game against Sheffield United. We'll start with you, Vinny, from Sky.
No problem. Now Sean's got his phone off.
Yeah.
Sean, just first of all, can we get reaction to the League Cup draw and obviously Villa away next round?
Yeah, obviously a tough draw because they're going well, started the season well. But main thing was to get through last night and see what comes next.
How much of a positive Beto getting off the mark instantly, and also his arrival as a whole, how much pressure does that take off someone like Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
Yeah, I mean, I think firstly, it's not about taking pressure off anyone. It's about adding to the strike force. We've been searching for that for a long time. He's a player we've been monitoring for a long time. A player that desperately wanted to come here, so we finally got that done. And then back to his performance, I thought it was always. I think I mentioned last night. His clearance, came through late, so we couldn't plan on him starting, but we thought we were hoping he'd be available. So the plan was always to get him on for a half if we could, at least a half. And then I'm pleased with his performance. Quite obviously, he looked what we hope he will look. He looked, physical presence, but also dealing with the ball, but also stretching the pitch. With. I think the biggest thing for me was with a real desire. He can run, we know that, but he can run hard, and he wants to run hard, and he wants to get in the box. And I think that's a very powerful thing for a striker. It sounds mad as if that's the norm, but it's the body language and the intent he drives forward with, and I think that was impressive last night. Obviously, he's only just got here, but that's certainly, I think, laid down a mark for him to continue building on, and something for us to look at now that we've got him in the building and sort of be pleased with. That's what we thought. What we'd seen, and we saw it last night.
What do you have to weigh up now when deciding whether or not to start him against Sheffield United?
Well, the good thing is he's played already, so he's had a pre-season. He's up for it and ready physically. There are some slight differences in the Premier League and the way it is, but he's certainly. He's made it clear he's desperate to get involved as quick as possible. So that's good. And
Dominic Calvert-Lewin, what's the diagnosis? What's the prognosis for him?
Yeah, so it's nothing that needs surgery or anything. But there was a minor situation on his kind of sinus area that is delicate, so he's got to be careful with it. The good news from an overall picture, he's managed to train through it, not with us, you understand, because of the type of injury it is, but after a few days of settling, he's managed to keep fit, as in his body, so that's good, because we want to keep him going now he's got this far. And then as regard the weekend, it's more of a touch and go situation, see what the decision is and how fragile it is, but no surgery or anything like that.
Is it maybe having to play in a mask or anything like that?
Yeah, maybe, but at this stage it's more to make sure that it doesn't get knocked, really. So it'll be touch and go over the weekend, and then after that, obviously with the international break, you'd say he's clear straight away.
Dwight McNeil, is he available this weekend? And Jack Harrison, I'm presuming, will be ready after the international?
Dwight's just back on the grass with us, with our training group. He's been on the grass for a few days working, but he's back with our training group today. So another one, we'd have to make a decision on that, but he's feeling pretty strong. Jack's on the grass with the sports science team, but not quite training with us yet, so he needs to get to that stage before the next steps. He'd probably need a build-up, half a game, a full game, because obviously it's been a delayed period from last season, which is one of them things. But he's going well, and I spoke to him today, and he's feeling better about things. So hopefully that just keeps progressing. Deli's getting back on the grass slowly but surely. So that's good to have him back around it, because he had a setback. So we're monitoring that with his injury. That is, by the way, he's well in himself. So there's a few things that we expect anyway. Although it's not ideal because we're stretched, but after the international break, then I think a lot of these people will be fit again, or certainly very close to.
Obviously, the transfer window's about to shut. What's happening with Alex Iwobi and his future? Yeah,
look, there's a few circling a few of our players. He's one of them. There's nothing in agreement yet, but there's him and Tom Cannon, similar sort of situations. A number of clubs circling their situations.
With that in mind, would it weaken the squad terribly if Alex were to go? What do you have to weigh up as regards whether you allow him to go now? Because obviously he has only got a year left on his contract.
Yeah, exactly. The obvious thing that's been, I think, it's been apparent, although I still had to spell it out last week. It was a bit odd. The club have to look at the business side of it, and there is a business side of it, quite obviously, with a player with a year left. Tom slightly differently. Money's not free flowing, so it has to be looked at.
Is there also an indication then that you're maybe confident of getting in a replacement, being a winger, a midfielder?
You can be as confident as you want. the fact is it's got to be done. Deals have got to be done. There's got to be money available. So if anything happens with them two players, then we'll quickly assess what can be done next. We've obviously monitoring situations for our own, not about them. Of our own avenues we could go down. But at the end of the day, you need the finance to make them work. So we'll find out over the next couple of days, obviously.
I take it you're working to the wire as regards bringing players in then as well. What is the priority? Is it a winger? Is it a midfielder, centre-half? Even another striker again?
Well, I think the obvious one, if these things change with Alex, Tom, is the wide areas because we're the injury side of things as well. The front area, we're trying to find that balance. You saw with Sheff last night. I made it clear the other week. He's a young player learning. You saw that good experience for him. It's going to take him time to adapt to what it is. With Beto, he's longer in his learning, obviously. Dom coming back to full fitness. And it's seeing what's available. The market's unforgiving at the best of times. So we've been trying to stay on situations, seeing if they open up. Obviously, it's been a delay because of the finances. That's been tricky. We are managing so far, whether it's loans, whether it's signings, to find our way, and it's very difficult.
I meant to mention Damari as well. If he goes to Saudi, then there's a few more days beyond.
Just another one there's a couple of situations swirling around.
What are you expecting from Sheffield United? Obviously, last week we saw a spirited performance against Manchester City. I suppose you're expecting a tough battle there as well.
Yeah, I went to the game. They're an outfit that worked very hard to get to where they've got to. The manager there has worked hard with them. He doesn't mind playing direct when they need to, and that kind of working ethic football, which is something that should be a given anyway, but they certainly do. They work as a unit. They work very hard. They've got a teamship about them, which served them so well. They put up a good show against a Man City side. Sorry, they won't forgive me for saying that. Man City side that are very good. We know the prowess they've got. Last night went against them. That's the way it goes. But they're new to the division. They'll have that kind of crowd behind them, that new feel to take on the game. We've performed well. We haven't won, but we performed well 2 out of 3. We got the job done last night, so we'll see what team we can piece together and see if we can go there and take it on with a proper performance like the last 2 out of 3. But we've got to score goals. I've said that all along.
And finally for me, Sean, obviously we've spoken about the first half performance against Villa and the first half performance last night as well. What can you do differently to really set the tone in those first half? Well,
first of all, last night's a completely different animal. Villa, I thought, were very good on the day, and we were a long way off. That can happen. Last night was a different situation. Everyone's desperate for us to lose, obviously, just by the nature of cup games. Not in a vicious way, but it's just the way it is. Kind of group in the first half, some of the younger players playing. It's a big experience for them, big expectation on that game. Donny made it very awkward and kind of that cup feel. Second half, I thought we gave a relatively strong, certainly strong enough to win the game. Good in different ways, I think, but it's a different style of game than what the Villa game was.
Thanks, Vinny. We'll go to Richard.
Sean, just circling back to Beto, the manner with which he conducted himself when he came on the pitch last night, scoring a goal, just how much of a lift has that given everybody around the club?
Well, I think the idea was that, get someone in who can be effective, get someone in who's different to what we've got, obviously, and someone we've had tracked for a while. When they go and deliver that kind of performance and have that impact, then of course it's beneficial to the side, but it's also beneficial to the fans. The fans have been well aware for a long time now that idea of getting a focal point in the team, another centre forward, a different way of operating, and he certainly showed that. Mainly just another weapon. We want as many as we can. And I think if you get goal scorers scoring, it often releases the kind of feel of other players to go and score. They feel a bit freer, because a goal scorer is scoring. So we want that. We don't want it just from him. We want it from all of our goal scorers, of course, and other players on the pitch. I've mentioned that. It's important we have the mindset to score from everywhere on the pitch as many times as possible, quite obviously. But it is fair to say if you've got strikers performing and scoring, well, that's got to be a massive benefit.
And on Sheffield United, you mentioned new club in the Premier League, fans excited. On Paul Heckingbottom, what are your thoughts on the job he's done there? Because it's not been the easiest period by all accounts. You can relate to that from your experience, but he's got them into the Premier League and he's got them playing at a place that can be quite intimidating at times.
Yeah, I've known him on and off for a while. Congratulate him at the end of last season. I know it's a tough task and, excuse me, he's done great with them, and and not going a million miles away from the format they've used. I think there's a period they signed quite a lot of players a few years ago. They're trying to do maybe different things for whatever reasons, maybe financial, maybe constructing the club at large, I should say, or as a whole, even better. And I think some of the players there are still working as a unit, and I think it looks like he's got value in that, and he wants to stick with that. So that can be a weapon, of course. We've got to make sure that our own unit performs and find the moments that are important to us, and find ways of winning games, and that's what we're looking to do.
Is there a greater emphasis then in this environment on starting the game well? You've referred to Villa and last night, obviously, but you know what you're going to get.
Well, the other games, we haven't just started them well. I think our consistency through the two home games has been really good, throughout apart from obvious couple of mistakes that cost us, but mistakes at the other end, putting the ball in the net. So I think they're the things we've got to correct, both boxes, not give away soft ones at the defending end, and also take some of the many chances we've made, start taking them.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. We'll go to Ian at Radio Merseyside.
So let's have a sip of water.
I sure just talked a lot about Beto, obviously, with his goal, but just how significant was it for Arno Danjuma as well to score his first goal for the club? How big is that for him?
Yeah, I mean, he's come in. He didn't play much last season, so he's still learning about how we want him to operate. That fitness is coming, the real depth of fitness, and really getting used to the players around him, I think. So it was good to see him score a goal. He's still adapting to what we want from him. But no, we think he'll be a good player for us.
And how are you looking at the international break now? Because obviously with the transfer window yet to close, then there's the break, and then you could have a number of players maybe back available to you again. Is it almost like you don't quite have the team that you hope you're going to have maybe a couple of months down the line yet?
Yeah, I mean, we started the season with the end of pre-season. We started losing a couple of bodies, and then all of a sudden you go into the season and you think, well, we've got some good players here suddenly not available. Then we lost Alex at Villa as well, and Dom, and then all of a sudden you start looking stretched. We lost a couple last night, which we hope are not too serious, with Miko going off, and a couple of knocks. We're hoping they're not too serious. They'll settle down today. It's not ideal, especially when you add in the window and you add in the reasons, the whys and wherefores, and how tough it's been in the window for us to get the players we wanted to get. But this is the challenge. This is the reality. I speak about it all the time because it is. I've been trying to get to reality line, and say, right, this is where it's at, and we're kind of there. Within that, in the league mainly, with two very positive performances, they just don't look it because you don't get a result. No one really cares about positive performances. Nobody cares whether you're stretched or not, but I still have to give them the facts. This is the truth of where we're at. And it's our job to change all them things around, start scoring goals, quite obviously, keeping clean sheets or certainly low goals against, and then winning games. And that's the reality of it. I can tell you a million different things, reasons why, but that's the facts. Stop it in one end, put it in the other. And I always speak to the players. That's the brutal facts of it. That's the job. So that's what we're looking to do, and we've got to do it again this weekend.
Thanks, Ian. We'll go to Carl at the Press Association.
Actually, just another quick one on transfers. Are you concerned that there might be an effect on squad numbers in terms of some people will go out and you might still have difficulty in getting replacing them like for like in numbers?
Yeah, but again, that's where we're at. That's where the club's at. It's not, if we had loads of money to be proactive before pre-season, every manager in the ideal world, wants the players in before the first day's training of pre-season. But it's just simply not that easy. Not many clubs want to sell at that stage either, because they try and work the market and expand the market, make the numbers grow. And then usually that implies you need a fair bit of money to make that happen earlier into the into the pre-season period. It often starts getting towards the end of the pre-season period before the first game of the season, and then it goes on to where we are now, which is the last few days, and then there's usually some activity. And we haven't been in front of that activity for financial situations, of course. So now we've had to wait, and we've managed to construct deals that we were capable of doing, and the other parties agreed. But then we've got to see what the next, 40 hours or so brings. That's just the reality of where it's at. I can't emphasise that enough. People keep asking me, that's the reality. That's my job, is to manage the reality. It's everyone else's job to put in the myths and the perception. Mine's to look at the reality of what the challenge is and work with the group we've got and add to it where we can, and that's what we're still looking to do.
I just mean in terms of the balance of numbers. Obviously, if you're going to lose somebody, that's a body out the squad you've got to replace. But are you going to be allowed to lose them if you can't get an immediate replacement?
Yeah, but that's what I was just suggesting. There's a business to run as well. So a certain situation, the business has to say, right, we're going to have to do that. that's the challenge of it. And then if we can't get anyone in, well, that's part of it. You know, it's the risk or reward of player trading. And usually you can only win that battle if you've got plenty of money to go start with in the first place, where you're proactive, you get the players in you want, and then you look at the outs. But we're having to look at it differently. That's just the time and place we're in at Everton Football Club.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Any further questions in the open section? No? Okay.